Welcome to our review on specialisation in plant cells. First thing we need to remember then is that when we're talking about the ability of cells to differentiate, there's a difference between plants and animal cells. So plant cells are actually capable of differentiation throughout their entire lives, whereas in animal cells, what we tend to find is that they differentiate very early on in existence, and then that ability is pretty much lost. So that what we actually find is in the mature animals, there's only limited cells that can carry on differentiating, and they can only differentiate into limited types of cells, which are usually used for repair and replacement. What we're going to do then is have a look at a few different types of specialised plant cells. So the first one of these is the root hair cell, which I've given you a diagram of on the right there. The whole purpose of our root hair cells is to take up water and mineral ions from the soil for our plant. In order to do this, there are three key adaptations we should know. The first one is that they've got an increased surface area, which means that the rate of uptake is going to be increased, and they've achieved that by having those little hairs sticking off the side, so it increases the surface area. Second is they've got a large permanent vacuole in the centre there, which is all to do with increasing the movement of water by osmosis across the cell. And the third and final one is they've got lots of mitochondria present in order to transfer the energy that's needed for active transport of the mineral ions. The second type of cell are Xylem cells. Now the whole idea of our Xylem cells is to transport water. Now the easy way to remember that is just think of the alphabet. Okay, so WXY, water in xylem. In that water there will also be dissolved mineral ions, so they're going to be transporting the water and the mineral ions from the roots where they're taken into the plant up to the shoots and the leaves where they're needed, and they've got a secondary function of providing additional support to our plant as well. The way that they're actually adapted for this is that the walls of those cells have become lignified, so they've had a chemical called lignin injected into them. And that means that they can form these really long tubes, as you can see in the diagram on the left there, so that the water and the mineral ions can move very easily throughout those big tubes. The lignin is also going to make them nice and strong, and that means it's going to help support the stem, and it can withstand the pressure of the water moving up the plant there. The third type of cell then are the phloem cells. The whole purpose of our phloem cells is to transport the food that's been made in photosynthesis from the cells that have carried out that process to all the other parts of the plant that then require it. We've got three key adaptations that allow them to do this. The first one is that the cell walls between each individual cell have actually been broken down to form this thing called a sieve plate. So you can see them in the diagram on the left there. Now the sieve plates are there to allow the dissolved food to move freely rather than having an end wall that it has to pass through. Second one is the companion cells, which you can see in the diagram, and they're there to support the phloem cells. The third adaptation is that we've got lots of mitochondria present within those companion cells in order to transfer the energy needed for the movement of our dissolved food. The final type of cell we should be aware of in our plants is something called a Palisade cell. And these ones have been designed to carry out photosynthesis. So we've got three key adaptations that we should be aware of in our Palisade cells. The first one, as you may well guess, they've got lots of chloroplasts present. Hopefully we remember chloroplasts contain this green pigment called chlorophyll, and that's going to trap the light energy needed for photosynthesis. The second is their positioning, and what we find here is that they're arranged in these continuous layers in the upper surfaces of our leaves and around the edge of our stem in order to absorb the maximum amount of light energy. The last one is the large permanent vacuole, again involved in keeping the cell rigid, so that's going to maximise the surface that's available to the light to then be absorbed. Hopefully at the end of this video you can now recall some specialised cells in plants, what their actual function is and how they've become adapted to carry out that function.